Okay, you're listening to The Phatt on Phoenix FM. We have just had a comedian in the studio and we had a bit of fun there, but now we're going to get serious.
Oh dear.
We now have in the studio with us the CEO of Bendigo Foodshare, Michelle Murphy. Welcome to The Phatt.
Thank you for having me.
A little bit closer to... I can turn you up a little bit. See how we go. Yeah, you basically run in the door and we've stuck you on the microphone.
That's okay. That's on me. A bit of a slow start this morning.
No, that's all right. Well, yeah, we had one too, and but we scraped through to now, haven't we, Ken?
We have. We've got by it, and we appreciate you making time on such a busy week for you as well.
It is a really busy week. We officially started operating our new food relief warehouse out of our new purpose-built home over in Breen Street, Golden Square on Monday. Mm-hmm. So our mighty, small but mighty team of volunteers and staff worked tirelessly over the weekend, and pleased to say we got everything up and running from 7 a.m. Monday morning, and everything is going as smooth as it possibly could. So it has been a big week.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long in the planning has it been to get...
Gosh, so it's well before my time. So I've been with Foodshare coming up 3 years. I think it's a couple of years prior to that, so probably at least 5 years. The vision was even preceded that. So 2013, Bendigo Foodshare started, and it wasn't too many years after. We started out of a little cramped warehouse over in Havilah Road, and it wasn't too many years after that 2013 that they realised we needed something bigger, sadly, to respond to the need, but also to safely accommodate our volunteers. So the planning started, maybe 7 years ago, I'd say, and then the location was identified around 2020, and 2021 got really serious in the planning stages. Yep. So it's been a long time coming.
Yes, and I remember going down to the old place at Havilah Road, and how, you're right, there were just forklifts going everywhere and everything. It was amazing that you were able to do so much out of there, and it was a tiny space by comparison. I drove past on Sunday, I think, down Breen Street, and it looked magnificent, the new building, and as you say, it's purpose-built, so obviously a lot easier. It will be a lot easier to operate out of.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, safety's, our number one priority, and we're very, very fortunate. We have great Auckland safety reps, most of them volunteers, so we did a great job, all things considered, out of that Havilah Road site. But now we've been able to create something where we can keep everyone a lot safer, but also so we can, store more food and get more food out. So it's incredible that we were around, just looking at my stats here in this last financial year, around 820 tonne of food we put through our warehouse out of that tiny warehouse, and that's sort of pretty consistent, that sort of figure around the high 700s over the last 3 years. Just incredible that they were able to do that without incident out of that tiny little warehouse over there. Yeah,
and it really shows the importance of volunteers and people getting involved in community outcomes, and that you operate, without the volunteers you would really struggle to be able to have the impact that you have.
Yep. So really proud to say when I started we had a 240 strong volunteer base, which is significant.
Yeah.
I'm told volunteering in generally since COVID has been a real issue, and where a lot of organisations sadly lost their volunteers with COVID, and they didn't always return for a whole variety of reasons. Ours doubled. We put the call out, and because I think at the time we were determined an essential service, so we were able to keep on operating, and people looking for something to keep themselves busy came to Bendigo Foodshare. So we doubled our volunteers. When I started, we had 240. But the bit that I'm really happy about is they've stayed. Yeah. So last financial year, we recorded 327 volunteers. So about 40 of them help us out with our book fair, which is becoming bigger than Ben-Hur. But even so, our volunteers in the warehouse continues to grow, and we survey them every year to make sure they're happy, and 98% last year said they were either, satisfied or highly satisfied, so we're pretty proud of that stat.
That's excellent.
That's a great stat.
Yep.
Yeah. That's Phoenix FM. It's something, we're all volunteers here as well. It's the same sort of thing, can relate to it. But if people want to be volunteers, is it sort of like, well, if you're going to be a volunteer, you've got to commit 10 hours a week, or can it be as little as 1 hour a week? Like, it doesn't have to be, I'm all in on this.
No, that's right. And I think that's another reason we've been able to keep our volunteers. You can roster on for a shift yourself. We use some software, but obviously we have provisions for people that aren't tech savvy or don't have a phone, etc. But you can just look at the list of jobs and go, I'm going to put myself on to do this 2-hour shift this week. And then we've got a lot of grey nomads, and they roster themselves off, for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever period for when they're travelling. So we provide for that flexibility. We do require all of our volunteers, we've got position descriptions for each volunteer position. We require them to do some training in each, different role. But beyond that, there's quite a bit of flexibility we can offer. So I think that's attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And your support from local business and that is getting stronger all the time?
Oh, it doesn't stop. This community, they are so generous. It's just so heartwarming, whether it's people coming to volunteer or people walking in with their bags. So already at our new warehouse, we've got people coming in the doors with bags of silver beet and lemons, and we always know what's in season because the people are walking in with donations of food. Of course, we've also got the donations coming in through our food drive at the moment. But then also, yes, as you said, Keith, the generosity of the business community. They've really rallied behind Bendigo Foodshare since our inception, and it just continues to grow, and they help us build our profile. If we take the building of our Breen Street warehouse as an example, we came in $450,000 under budget, which is pretty unheard of when you build something, I'm told. And that's because of the generosity of the trades and services that got behind the project. So many of them, the list is, I think it's somewhere around 40 different trades and services either donated their time free or it's heavily discounted their costs. So just incredible generosity. It's just heartwarming.
That's fantastic. And also, in terms of building projects, it actually seemed to go up pretty quick. So
it did. Fairbrother are our builder. Y2 Architects are we're our architects. Those two organisations themselves, the amount of time they gave to this project pro bono is significant. Y2 Architect, I don't think I've ever seen an invoice from them. And Fairbrother, they didn't start the building till December. We had a contract to say it would be built by the first week of October, and we're already in. So just incredible how quickly they got the boots in, and we saw it go up. Yeah, pretty amazing. Yep.
Brilliant. And I mean, sadly too, with conditions these days, with inflation running rampant and that the demand for your services continues to grow. It's
sad. We're not going out of business anytime soon, sadly. So we see it all over the media, and we know that the demand has increased, but a lot of our information is anecdotal because we actually don't provide food relief directly.
No.
We give it to, at the moment, 92 different partner organisations that distribute that food right across Central Victoria. So we reach right up to the Murray, down as far as Macedon Ranges, across to Maryborough, Heathcote. So it's a really big footprint. So we rely on those partners, and most of them are volunteers. And they're not even counted in the volunteer stat I gave you before. So they are salt of the earth, amazing. They're the real heroes on the front line distributing food relief. And they're doing it in so many different ways. Some of them are doing it out of shipping containers. Some of them are doing it out of the local pub. It's just a huge variety of ways they're making sure they're supporting their local community. But we go off what they're telling us in terms of demand. They just continue to tell us similar figures that we're talking about anywhere from a minimum of about a 40% increase up to 60% in some smaller regions. So it's pretty concerning. So to have this new warehouse, to have all this community support, to have the space to store additional food is just so critical, so we can continue to help people out when they're going through tough times.
Yeah.
Clearly, the real importance is in those relationships that are being built, and so getting those really strong relationships, they get something back though. So, when you're talking about the volunteer side of it, and it's like, okay, you're giving your time, those organisations, those volunteers, there's actually something you get back from contributing that service to the community. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's something that people don't realise. It's not just you gifting your time, you're actually getting something
It's a
back.
two-way exchange, you're right. You know, I'm always talking to our volunteers, and of course we survey them as well, but they come because, for a variety of reasons, they come to volunteer because they can't stand food going to waste when people are hungry. They come because they're feeling a little bit isolated. They come because they need to, you know, for whatever reason, for Centrelink benefits, they need to do their, I think it's 15 hours of volunteering a week, but they stay because of the social connection and the sense of purpose, and that they're contributing to something meaningful and worthwhile. You talk about, you had a comedian on earlier, and we're not that funny, but the laughter in our shed is all, every day that we're there, the laughter and the camaraderie between our volunteers. We've had to put in, with our new warehouse, we have a new policy where we don't want anyone at the warehouse on their own, in case of, you know, a risk of injury, operating machinery, etc. So we need 2 people. So we don't open the doors till 7 o'clock. And that was effective from Monday. We had a queue of volunteers at the door, because they all like to come early and sit around and have a coffee and chew the fat. You know, so it's a really hard adjustment for them to say, oh, sorry, you're going to have to wait till 7 o'clock. But, you know, they just get so much enjoyment out of it, and it's a wonderful thing to observe. There's a lot to be said about volunteering. Like, we've got, I don't know how they do it, but because I know how busy I am, but we've got CEOs as well that on their day off, they come and volunteer with us. It's not your usual suspects. It's a whole gamut of people of all ages, abilities and life stages, all mixed in together, doing this great work alongside each other. It's just such a beautiful thing to see and be part of.
And it's definitely the old adage of together everyone achieves more.
Absolutely.
But as Brett was saying, more for themselves as well as for other people by doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
But you're still always on the hunt for more volunteers?
Look, we won't turn them away. We put out a hold on just while we moved over this last month. People can still sign up and register their interest to be a volunteer on our website, if I give that a plug. But at the moment, and we just had a chat about this yesterday, actually, when do we start that back up again? So in the next couple of weeks, we'll start hosting information sessions for people that have indicated, new people that have indicated interest in volunteering, and then we'll bring them through and we'll show them the different volunteering roles, and they can have a think about that and decide if it's right for them. But yeah, we're never going to turn a volunteer away, absolutely.
Yeah.
You talked about like you're sort of almost the wholesaler, and then there's all these other organisations. How far does that spread? Like Bendigo Foodshare, the food out of your shed.
Yep.
How far does that reach?
Yeah, so as I was saying before, we deliver it. So we've got our vans out on the road 7 days a week rescuing food, and 4 days a week we're delivering food. So we're really fortunate. We had quite a role in the response to the floods that happened in, was it late 2022? As a result of that, we were able to attract some funds from the Bendigo Community Enterprise Foundation and the Lions Foundation to purchase a truck, which means a small truck. It means we can carry more pallets of food at a time and go further. So our trucks and one of our vans are out delivering orders to those 92 odd partners 4 days a week, and they stretch, it's across a 19,000 square kilometre reach that our volunteers are delivering food 4 days a week. And just yesterday, actually, we finished a funding application to the state government. Swan Hill have reached out to us. Now, Swan Hill is outside of our Central Victoria remit. So our name, Bendigo Foodshare, is quite a misnomer. We're Central Victoria Foodshare, in fact, but Swan Hill have reached out to us. So we're looking at what we can do to help them replicate what we do here in Central Victoria. So it might be about we'll get the food to Kerrang, and their volunteers could pick it up from Kerrang and get it up to Swan Hill. So we're always thinking quite creatively, but yeah, it's a huge reach that we service, and we're only able to do that thanks to that generosity that we're talking about, whether it be volunteers or people paying, a sponsor paying to fuel our vans, or just to help us acquire all the food that we need.
And the networks that you built, like to do that, you can't just drop it off out on the side of the road, halfway to Swan Hill or halfway to wherever it's going to go, you need some really good coordination there.
Yeah, we've got some amazing staff members. We're a small but mighty team. Joe and Kay do an amazing job of sourcing food for us. We get it from lots of different places, and then getting that out. And you're right, there's quite a bit of logistics involved. So just to have this new space where we can do that better. And I'll just to give you sort of a sense. So size-wise, we're looking about triple the size of what we had, at least triple the size. But in terms of what that looks like, we could carry 50 pallets of food we could hold in our old warehouse, and then 14 pallets in each of our cool room and freezer. This new facility, it'll go to, where's my stat, 132 pallets, 42 pallets in our fridge and 42 in our freezer. So we're going from 78 pallet capacity to minimum of 216 pallet capacity. So we can source more food, store more food, and get more food out, most importantly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And if people are experiencing difficulties, I see via your website there are links to the different organisations within the areas that they might come from.
Yeah, that's right. We've tried to break it down by LGA, so they can. There's 8 LGAs we work in now, so there's eight on our website, and they can click on there and see where we're delivering food to.
Yeah.
Now, I know other amazing organisations such as Food Bank, we partner with Food Bank. They also deliver it into other little pockets that we may not. So if someone needs food relief, they can go to our website, but they can also go to the Ask Izzy website, and that'll just ask you to put in your postcode, and they'll be able to give you a much more comprehensive list of where you can get food closest to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Right. We might have a listen to a couple of songs, or one at least, and then we'll come back. Oh, have you got something new on that?
Oh, sorry.
No.
We weren't going to kick you out of the studio yet.
I mean, if you've got time to stay, you're very busy.
I have to get a child to school, but I've got about another 10 minutes up my sleeve, so that's fine.
Oh, we'll
play
keep
away.
chatting then.
Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
We'll keep chatting, and we'll make it up later.
Sure.
Yep. No, all good.
If I could just plug our food drive before
definitely.
I forget that, that would be amazing. We talk about people want to know how they can support what we do. You'll see the yellow bins around town at the moment. They're in all supermarkets and up at the marketplace as well. Bendigo Toyota help us out significantly with our food drive each winter, and that's where asking people where they can. We know not everyone can, particularly with the current cost of living crisis, but if they can buy an extra item or two when they're doing their shop and put non-perishable items into the big yellow bins. We've set ourselves a lofty target of 10,000 kilograms of food this year. The bins are starting to come back in full, so we're pretty excited to understand what we ended up achieving. But if anyone can contribute to that runs through until the end of next week.
And I did see you had some people on the stand down at Bendigo Marketplace as well. That's
the folk from Bendigo Toyota. They're amazing. They do a drive-through every year. I think they did that late last week, but they also staff that display there at the marketplace for us to shout out to people walking past, hey, if you've got a few spare dollars, can you buy an extra tin of soup or something like that and pop it in the yellow bin?
Well, that was one thing I was going to ask. What are the sort of things you would like to see, Ben? Because clearly there'd be stuff put in there that it just goes, just not appropriate.
Yeah, unfortunately we get a bit of that, but we always find a home for virtually everything that we receive. But what we are calling out for is those staple items that really can make a difference. So a packet of pasta, a jar of pasta sauce, a tin of baked beans, a tin of soup, rice, just your basics. What's your quick and easy go-to meals? 2-minute noodles. We try to keep it as healthy as we can. We complement all of the orders we send out. We put fruit and veggies from the rescued food that we receive in with that. But as far as our food drive goes, we're calling for non-perishable items, so things that are tinned or not needing refrigerated. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, look, one of the great things that really happens in the community and that a lot of people probably don't realise is happening and how much work is going on. I had a bit of a look last night to see the amount of stuff that is getting moved. It's just staggering. And I
haven't even touched on, so it is staggering, and that's our food relief side of what we do. And when Bendigo Foodshare was formed, it was that it was and remains our core work, food relief. But over the last few years, we've really started to work hard in that prevention space, trying to build up skills in people, disadvantaged communities, and in young people, how to cook a healthy, cheap, nutritious meal, but also how to grow food themselves, how to know what will grow in the local climate, and how to grow in your own backyard. So we've got so many exciting programs that we're doing in that prevention space. And if you're interested, a couple of examples at the moment, we're working with the Karen community. We've borrowed a bus from Brady's Tavern. I'm doing a lot of plugs, aren't I? But we've got amazing supporters out there. They've lent us their bus. We've got a volunteer driving them out to some what we call Golden Gums Farm. Now that's a little kind of hobby farm we've got going that's out on land that's been made available to us by a private family, and they're getting the opportunity to grow food and learn how to grow food for the local Australian climate. They're passionate growers of food, the Karen community, but it's a bit different in Australia. So they're learning that. They're also getting some potentially for their resumes. A lot have very limited, if any, English. Yeah. So also that's really important around the social connection. Something to put on their resume to help them start to, find work, etc., in the Bendigo community. Yeah. We're also going into schools. We're doing our Cooking for Change program. We're working with young people. What is food poverty, where you can go if you need food relief yourself or your family, but then they're getting involved in the kitchen in their school, cooking up a meal. Some of that food they're using is food that we've rescued, and cooking up a meal, freezing that up, sending that back to Foodshare, and that goes out on our vans as well. There's a lot. That's two examples. I could just go on and on with the amount of beautiful community programs we're doing as well.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that stuff with the schools, I did want to ask about that because it wasn't probably something that I would have thought of that was part of Bendigo Foodshare, but the education program.
Yeah, look, we're trying to take this kind of dual strategy approach where we're trying to, it's a wicked problem that's hard to solve, and so we're trying to work from both ends. So we want to support people in crisis in the moment, but we also want to build community resilience and resilience in individuals so that, it's long-term work, but so that over time we can hopefully impact on the number of people needing food. Yeah. There's a lot of great things going on.
It's a funny thing that, so much of your work is about actually trying to make it so that you're not required.
Absolutely, do ourselves out of a job. How good would that be? And getting back to our new building, we've only built on less than a quarter of the land that we've leased, so it's Crown land, and we've leased it through the City of Bendigo. And the vision is for that to be a community food hub. So we're so excited about what we're going to do with the remaining 75% of the land. Unfortunately, like most of Bendigo, it's been heavily mined, so we can't grow fruit and vegetables in the soil. But we've already started purchasing food cubes, wicking beds, etc. And we'll be setting up demonstration projects and the like where we're teaching people. People can perhaps come along and lease a plot of land, or we can have some sponsored plots above. When I say a plot, they'll all be above ground, but where they can have a space to grow some food themselves. So we're really excited about the next stage of that Breen Street development. We'll have a master plan of what we're thinking might work available for the community to look at later this year. We're hoping to have an open day where we can invite all of the community in to have a bit of a look, walk through, see what it is that we actually do, but also look at our master plan in terms of, and give some feedback on what we're thinking about doing for the rest of that large space that we've leased.
Brilliant. I can imagine it beginning to look like the English allotments where...
I hope so.
Where it is a community space where people have their own garden. I know I now live on a block where I don't have space to grow things, but, to have access to a space where it can be my garden that I have responsibility for, but then it goes on to... help others.
Absolutely.
Great concept.
I'm in the same position, Keith. And so, we're visualising a whole mix of different activities, initiatives happening on that space. So it could be allotments where you could if you can, or sponsor and have your own allotment. We're thinking about, could we have a hothouse where we could be raising seedlings and, to grow our own food for food relief. Could we have demonstration projects for if you've got a tiny yard, how to grow food in plants, in pots, for example. So the sky's the limit. We're excited about what we can do with that space. So watch this space.
Fantastic.
There's psychological aspects to that too. There's a show that'll be on after us, Rainbow Radio, and they've been talking quite a bit recently about gardens and the impact of that and the building of community they've had in Long Gully Community Garden have come in and talked about, and there is really value in that as well. So this is not a one-way transaction, as we said before.
You're right.
There is so much for you as an individual to get from contributing to this and being part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work closely with Jonathan and the Long Gully Community Garden. And we work, there's not anything Bendigo Foodshare does that's not in partnership. So we work really collaboratively, Old Church on the Hill, Pepper Green Farms. We'd love to learn from what they're doing there and see what are they doing that we could perhaps translate over to Breen Street. So, really keen to get all of the communities. How can we make this a vibrant space for our community? Because it is a community space and will always remain that. Yeah.
All right. Well, we should let you go and get some kids to school so they can learn about cooking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michelle. We appreciate you coming in. Appreciate the work that Foodshare Bendigo does.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. We look forward to the next exciting chapter as we settle into our new home.
Yeah, we look forward to getting you back in to continue the story with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people need to know what's going on out there. So, you're always welcome back. So.